Hey Ringside crew, welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And now here's your host, Joe, Panther the Third.
Hey, hello there, wrestling fans, and welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. I am Joe Panther the Third, and Ringside crew, we are here, and you are in for a treat. I have a young lady that is returning to the Dudes at Ringside podcast. Let's give, whichever one that is. Lady that is returning to the Dudes at Ringside podcast. Let's give somebody's loud. Somebody loud. Whichever one that is. Let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to Jemma. Welcome back, Jemma.
Hi, Joe. Thank you so much for having me.
Dudes at Ringside. Yep, there we go. Thank you for returning. Awesome.
Oh,
Jemma, thank you so much for taking this opportunity to come back on Dudes at Ringside. So, Jemma, what have you been up to since the last time we were in the Jose Quinones Memorial Studios?
well, I have been up to so much. I have been busy with the Dynasty, and I have a huge announcement coming up at the February 22nd show. So if you can, make sure to get on up there. And yes, I'm going to do a quick little plug. You can buy tickets at purplepass.com. But besides that, I have so many shows coming up. I'm very excited. I've just been so busy. There's so much to talk about and so much little time, I guess.
Yeah.
The main thing is basically just finishing up school and everything, and we're gonna make sure got good grades so I can really focus on my training and I don't have to be pulled aside and be like, do your homework.
Like, come here, little Jemma. Get back at the desk, and here's your pencil. Dang it! I thought I got them all right. Not today.
Yeah. Yep. Otherwise, I've been doing some stuff with local theaters in the areas and everything. So yeah. Otherwise, what have you been up to, Joe?
Oh man, I started my year off in 2024. My wrestling year, I thought it was over. Me and my fellow former co-host, Dollar Club guy, aka the JBNs on the scene, we went to a show at the Falcon's Nest for my end of 2024. It started earlier in 2025. I thought I was waiting a little bit to go to shows. As I told you, I went to the legendary arena where they did Monday Night Raw back in the day in Poughkeepsie. Now it's connected to a hotel. And this past Saturday, I attended PPW's Hey Bro show with Matt Riddle. Yeah, shout out to everybody that was there. Shout out to Matt Riddle. Shout out to Mr. Ruda. But Mr. Ruda has some big plans for the Dudes at Ringside this year. He has a shiny, I'm going to say it's something shiny. I'm excited. I'm $1 million man. I'm just going to just give you a little, it's nice. And it makes everybody's eyes lit up from the 90s. Say, I'm getting crowned. 4 years. So, Jemma, you've been on this podcast now 2 times.
I have, yes.
With this history of Dudes at Ringside being the 4 years, so did you ever get a chance to watch any of the episodes from this time of since March? Like, do you have any good fond memories of the podcast that you've seen?
I do, yeah. I mostly listen to it on Spotify, and probably the most entertaining is and this is not a biased opinion, but probably the Buzz Bloodsaw um podcast is probably my favorite because Buzz is such an awesome guy. And I always love listening to him tell his stories and whatnot. So actually hearing you guys interact was absolutely amazing, and it had me dying laughing.
Do you imagine the people walking by you as you're sitting there cracking up hysterically, walking around or sitting there? Your parents are like, what is she listening to?
Yeah, yeah.
And the other episode that made me smile last year is when I finally had a chance to have your friend that you got me to have on, Smith Skylar.
Yes.
She's
Yep.
doing pretty good. I see her. I haven't heard from her. I think she said she's traveling. She's training and traveling, I think.
Correct. Yeah, Skylar has taken me under her wing for definitely a few times now, and I'm just very happy to actually see that she's gotten to watch me grow up and blossom a bit, and it means so much that she's really like taken me under her wing as a female in the industry, and she can just kind of guide me a little bit.
That's awesome. That's so cool that Skylar is taking you under her wing. Have you ever thought of like, did you ever ask her, hey, can I be try to get her part of the team? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, we've talked about that actually. And I remember actually I managed her and Sarge and trying to remember the other guy. I think it was Marcel Williams. If I remember correctly. And I think there was someone else, but I can't pin my finger on it. But I was their manager for the night, and that was such a fun match to be a part of. But after that, like me and Skylar have definitely had talks, and we're like, I would love to work with you, especially because it would be like, like girl power, female power, and just going and kicking butt in the ring and everything. So yeah, absolutely. I would love to be Skylar's manager and bring her, part of my stable, part of my faction.
Need more people like Skylar. She has that. Her belt kind of looks familiar, but I don't know. It kind of looks like the winged eagle a little bit. The belt that she always carries around. Like, so is there any place you want to travel to, Jemma, in the country that you haven't been to yet?
I'm honestly not sure. I haven't been out west. I would love to go out west and see what it's like out there. Maybe California. Maybe after all the fires. I'm very sorry about LA and everything, but
yeah,
that's awful. But honestly, I would go there to go explore Universal and maybe their Disneyland.
yeah, yes, definitely. We send our thoughts and prayers here at Dudes at Ringside for all the fires and all the. If anybody's watching from the West Coast, we love you and we hope everything's okay. If you're there, just definitely put as an animal lover and a dog lover and a cat lover. If you have a bowl, put some water out for the dogs and cats because they're just running and scared, and the animals. Put some water outside and give them water because they're scared and they have nowhere to drink and nothing to, Yeah, you know what I mean? That's what I saw on Instagram. I was like, oh, smart. Very smart.
Absolutely. Yeah.
With you being so young in the business, do you ever like see these older wrestlers and like try to ask them for advice and stuff like that?
Absolutely. Anytime that I try to actually get a moment with these older wrestlers or someone who's been in the business for a very long time, I will stop them when they're available and be like, hey, I'm Ringside Jemma. This is what I do. Do you have some advice for me? And they're usually like, finish school. That is the biggest thing, is to finish school. For example, actually, Tony Atlas. God, I love him. He is amazing. I have had the grandfather talk from him probably
Mm.
2 times now. It's saying, basically to finish school before I even consider dating. Um, just the total like dad talk to like his teen like his teen daughter and stuff, and oh my goodness. I've had that 2 times now, and I love that so much.
It's good to have connection with the past with wrestling. Like, do you ever sit there on Peacock and just sit there and just watch all the old stuff from like the 90s and the 80s from WWF and WCW?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's so funny every time that I would get to school from riding on our little school buses and whatnot. I would just be in the back, all the way in the back, just watching um just old WrestleMania SummerSlams and and whatnot. And every time I would get to school, it would stop at a British Bulldog match. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, jeez.
Uh-huh. And I'm like, "Oh, no, I really wanted to see this." So I'd have to pause it, and then I'd have to go back and rewatch it because I'm like, I forgot what happened, and I try to go take notes and stuff. So, yeah, I usually do that if I don't have anything to, like, work on.
Oh, you know what else? The person you should meet, that's the Twits. They're all here. They're giggling. You need to meet. She lives in Canada though. The Dynamite doll, the Dynamite Kid's daughter.
Hmm.
From the legendary tag team of the Bulldogs.
Yes, yep.
She's such a sweetheart. She came on the podcast twice. First by herself, and then she had her guy that she works with, which is a hardcore wrestler, like death match. So
Yes.
Since you're so young, but I don't know if you would want to, if you asked to manage a deathmatch wrestler and asked to come to the ring during one of those matches, would you go, or be like, I can't?
Well, for my mama's sake, I would say I can't, but honestly, I wouldn't mind doing it. I've seen a little blood, and I'm okay with violence. But yeah, for my mama's sake, I probably wouldn't do a death match, or I wouldn't be like in a death match myself. But to manage one, I'd be fine with it. I would just really need to focus in the match and make sure that, hey, is everybody okay? And like really communicate with the ref and be like, listen, if we gotta shut this down, we gotta shut this down.
Yeah. There's some matches that I've seen on Instagram lately that are just like, is this safe? Like, should they be doing this? Like,
right.
Yeah. The thing you need to watch on Peacock is, I don't know, you may have seen it if you saw the shows, Superstars.
Have I seen that? I might have seen an episode, but I might have fallen asleep.
That one is pretty much, it was like, I call it the workout for the bigger names. Pretty much Superstars was like, it was owned by Crockett Promotion back in the day, and Vince McMahon came in overnight, bought it, and then showed up on one of the shows live. And it's like, hey, I'm Vince McMahon, and I own this now. Pretty much, yeah. He pretty much had a meeting with all the wrestlers, and he said, you're all fired. So he just came in, bought it, fired everybody, and just put all his wrestlers on Superstars.
Well, now, okay.
Nick, that's like Vince McMahon buying buying an indie promotion and be like, well, you're all fired.
Right.
Yeah. So what has been like your highlights? Like, what was a highlight for you for 2024?
My biggest highlight, I think, was actually coming home to the JCC for PAPW and getting probably the biggest pop I've ever had, going out with Bull Dread, and it was just, people were chanting, Dread, 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 and then I came out and people were like, Jemma, 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 and my heart was just set on fire. I was like, okay, this is going to be a very good match. I got to slap someone in it. I got to slap Mr. Z. Yeah. Anytime he needs a good slap across the face, he knows who to call, because he's been bugging me a bit.
That's hilarious.
Mhm.
And now, and as everybody knows, if they saw it on Instagram, it was me doing. You and Mr. Ruda were nominated. You guys were the managers of the year 2024. So how did that feel? You were nominated. You were Doug the manager of the year.
First of all, thank you so much, because honestly, I wouldn't be able to have been dubbed the manager of the year without the wrestling fans and without my guys who I manage. But it's most importantly is because of my supporters and my fans, and well, as I called them, my gems, who really make that happen. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. Yes, it is.
Yeah. And not only you had me, I was like, okay, both of them are doing interesting things this year, Mr. Ruda and you. I was like, oh God, how could I not pick both? It's like you go to the store and as a kid, your mom's like, which toy do you want? I'm like, can I have both? Can I have both as the manager of the year? I don't want to insult one person and I give it to the other person. I'm like, if I could 3D print a trophy and be like, damn it, address please for what? No.
There you go. Yep.
Mom, I got a trophy. If I had a 3D printer, I would have really printed it out, because I made one on Pic Collage, and I'm like, if I had the smarts to get a 3D printer, I would have really 3D printed you a trophy, and then not told you what it was. You opened it, you would have been like, what? Mom, I got a trophy for what?
Yeah.
Manager of the year. Well, that's nice.
Yep. Yeah, and then being, voted in as manager of the year for the PAPW awards, like, and there was a lot of good managers on there, and especially because I didn't work a lot this year, I was honestly not expecting it. So once again, thank you so much to everyone who voted to me. I cannot express how much that means to me. And I honestly can't do it without you guys.
Yeah.
So
it's
2 times
kind of crazy. Yeah. For you, how do you separate your schedule from your being in school and your wrestling stuff? Like, is it difficult because you have homework and yeah, I know, I saw the eye roll. Is it difficult?
It's a little difficult. I have to say that. I mean, for my school, we do block scheduling and whatnot, so I have longer periods in the day, so I can actually get a lot of work done more. So that makes it able for me to come home and be like, okay, what do I gotta do for work? So I guess that's helped.
You said that training. So is it you in the process of stepping through the ropes this time now, Jemma, or is that a hush hush right now? Should we, I should not. Okay, never mind. Next question. Do you collect anything of any sort, like pops or anything like that?
Well, I have a mass collection of jewel tone dresses for the Hall of Fame, especially. And it's just because, hey, those are what look beautiful on me. I can use it for work, and I can use it basically for any party I go to. So I have a lot of collection of dresses. But then another big thing is, let's see here. Probably stickers. I collect a lot of stickers. And then I used to collect action, like wrestling figures and whatnot. And I stopped that because I kind of spent a little too much money on them.
Mhm.
But basically, I have my dad's old collection, and so I took over what he had, and I added my own. So
Awesome.
that's pretty much my big collections and whatnot.
Do you? I guess we were supposed to meet at the '80s con, but then Sassy's sister's like, she looks busy. Keep walking. So, do you think you're going to come back to the '80s con this year?
You know what? If Rita goes back, absolutely. I'd love to go back, especially because I believe a lot of people know who I am now. And when I went, I was still pretty green to the business, and it was probably maybe 2 years in, and I mean it's been 2 years from that now, I think. If I'm getting my times mixed up, I don't know. But definitely, if they invite me back, I would love to go.
And I hope I can get a chance to go this year because I missed the other one, the '90s con. Even my sister's like,
Hmm.
you're in the '80s and are you going to the '90s? And they didn't even do it at the same place. They did it in the mall, like the middle.
Oh,
If you saw that, yeah, they did it in the
oh,
the big Jersey, not the one next to MetLife, the
mhm.
other mall that's like what used to be a bigger mall. I can't think of what it was called. I forgot the name of it. But here we go. This is a funny one for you. Have you ever done a show in a location that you're just like, so this is where we're doing it? Like,
Yes, I have actually. Last year, technically, the Dynasty did a fair show, and we were in where they raised pigs, and that was considered. It was a place called the Altamont Fair, and that's considered home turf for me. So they were on my turf. I'm like, don't mess this up. This is my turf. And but basically when we got there, I was in like my gear and whatnot, and I was stepping in mud, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm in sparkly pants and in a fur coat, and I'm stepping in mud
ugh,
with very sparkly shoes on. And thank God they were sneakers, and so easy cleanup. But I kind of just looked at my mom and my dad, and I'm like, this is where we're doing it. I thought we were gonna be in like a field or whatnot, or maybe over by the circus tent. Nope, we were over by where they race pigs, which is honestly okay, cause the stadium, like the stadium seats and the bleachers were right there, and we had a decent amount of people who came to the show. So, yeah, when I got there, I'm like, okay, this is where we're doing this. But
yeah,
honestly, that was a very fun show.
yeah. The show with that I went to the '80s con the last time I was there. I remember they had the what's it called, Powers of Pain. They were
Mhm.
there. I was now I'm thinking, man, you should have definitely approached them. You could have been the Mr. Fuji for the night.
Yeah,
You
probably.
wear the top hat.
Yeah,
You have a
I
black
do.
jacket.
I do. Yeah. I just got new
Why not?
blazers actually.
Yes. You could have did a little diamonds on your cheeks and been like, "That's my makeup." Like,
Yep.
because remember he
Oh
wore
my
makeup
god,
when
that
he
would have
worked
been
with them.
amazing.
So,
Mhm. Yes.
so here we go. We have someone in the chat. Here we go.
I saw that show. It was great. Oh, thank you so much.
Awesome. Have you ever? I know the girl that made me into a pop. She drew you. So what does that feel
Yes.
like to be drawn?
When she sent that to me, actually, I think it was you. Didn't you send that to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you sent that to me, I opened it. I'm like, whoa. Like, I've never had someone actually draw me before. I've had little kids come up to me and be like, "Hey, Gemma, here, I made this drawing for you." And I would look at it and I'd be like, "Oh, thank you so much. I'm gonna go home and put this on my wall." But generally having a drawing of me, and like, it was a really good drawing too. I was blown away. I was like, this is my first real piece of fan art. Like,
She
this
could
is
always ask. You could
amazing.
always ask her. Her name's Tracy. You could always
Mhm.
DM her on Instagram and say, "Hey, if I send you my address, can you send it? So you could put it in your." She'll send it. She sent the one of my grandfather. She did.
Mhm.
As you know, she popped me. It sounds like she punched me. She popped me. Like like Jimmy did on Saturday. Like, there you go.
Yeah.
See,
Wow.
we don't
That's
match
amazing.
today because I wore the shirt yesterday, but he was a little
Mhm.
mad that I came out wearing a. Oh, wow! I almost fell. I
Mm.
almost fell, and my pop almost committed Harry Carey. And then
Oh
here's
my
Jose
goodness.
Quinones.
That's awesome.
Yep. And it's funny. I cried for 15 minutes with that in my hand with my grandfather.
Oh,
As I never met him. As you know, I think I told you, I never met my grandfather. And
yes, you have
when you
told me
said
that.
your dad works with people from the Hall of Fame,
Mhm.
I'm like, can we try to get him inducted? Like he
Absolutely.
deserves he deserves to be like acknowledged in wrestling. He was an
Mhm.
enhancement talent, but
Mhm.
he did his job. Like he helped people get their names over. His best
Exactly.
friend was Space Tex Calhoun.
No kidding.
Yeah, his best friend. Hayes Tex Calhoun used to come to my grandfather's house and drink
Hmm.
Rheingold beers and smoke cigars.
Mhm.
And we had, I wasn't there because I wasn't born yet. And Back to the Future time machine is not real, so I couldn't go back and watch this. Classy Freddie
Mhm.
Blassie was sitting in their living room. Killer Kowalski was sitting in their living room.
Mhm.
Haystacks was there. Um, there was he said the whole room was packed with old, like, legendary wrestlers. He's like, Randy, if you're around, you would have been like, it's Haystacks. There's Killer Kowalski. like
Wow.
sitting there, like, and also I find out Pete Sanchez is my cousin. He's another guy from the early '80s, like
Mhm.
late late '80s, early '90s, and then I find out my cousin Frank Martinez, the Blue Demon, is another
Oh, wow.
enhancement. Yeah, and
Mhm.
you could find Pete Sanchez on another show that's on Peacock under the WWE shows. It's called Old School, and
Yes, I've
it's
seen that. I have
yes,
seen
that
stuff of
one.
that.
You'll see Hulk Hogan win the title for the first time because he was in the
Mhm.
Garden.
Yes.
Um, the only match that's not on there, and it was in the Garden, and I don't think they did live shows up to that moment. When Kevin Nash won the title over Bob Backlund,
Oh. Mhm. Yes.
that was not
Yep.
on there,
Nope.
not at all, at all, at all, at all. So, so
It's
cough.
okay.
Yeah,
You're
I know I
good.
should have bring some water, but if anybody has any questions in the chat, spit away.
Yeah.
I'll post them on the screen. Um, yeah, this is fun, Gemma. I'm so glad. I'm always happy to have you back on the podcast because you always bring a
Mhm.
smile to my face, and I'm so happy to. Your parents are so sweet and nurturing. Like before the show, I got a chance to talk to your awesome dad. So
Mhm.
what does it feel like that your parents? You're so young in the business, and your parents are like with you right there, like right on your shoulder, and like telling you could do this.
The support is amazing. Um, Honestly, I know they get under my skin some days, but they mean so much to me. Like, they're on me constantly. They're like, "Make sure you do this, make sure you post about this show, make sure you do that." I'm like, "Okay, okay, okay, I'll do it." But, like, at the end of the day, when I see, like, the results and I get people to the shows after them pushing me to promote shows that hard, and also, it's also to be like, "Hey, you got this is your job. You gotta do it as well." Um, it means so much, and I love them from the bottom of my heart, and just hearing them cheer for me at every show, and I can just pinpoint when it's them, or if I need help getting the fans going, and my dad's like taking pictures and whatnot. He'll always like give me like an encouraging nod to do it, and it's been, these 4 years that I've been in the industry, just put my foot in the door, and thank you to so many people for helping me. But my parents, they have been my biggest support system, and especially when people were like, that's not a real job. And 4 years later, I proved you wrong.
Yep. I hate that because I work with people where I work in my job that don't like. Oh wait, here we go. Boom.
Oh, that's hard. Probably. Oh, here we go. So there was one PAPW show that I have done where Zafar and Benny the basketball were handcuffed together, and I really wasn't supposed to be there. I was Coach Jemma that night, and I let them know like, hey, I'm not Coach Jemma tonight. But I saw, my mascot, my Benny, getting beat up, and I'm like, oh no, we're not gonna do that. And Zafar was up on the apron, and I jumped up on the apron. I turned him around, and I gave him a low blow. And basically, he was uncuffed from Benny at that point. And I took the handcuff, and I slapped it on my wrist. And I held my hands up. I was like, yeah! On my Instagram, there's a picture of that, actually. But that was probably a very memorable show as well, because I got to do so many cool stuff. And then another one was probably Return to Neverland at the Linda over there in Albany. Because I get to work with little kids when I work with the Dynasty. We get to do like these entrance competitions and whatnot. And I picked up these 2 little boys, and oh my goodness, this one, who was definitely a diehard wrestling fan, was jumping off the ropes and whatnot. Me and Leo, we were laughing. And then Peter from the Linda, he came out, and we were just trying to get the kid off of the ropes. So that was really fun, but probably the handcuff one is my absolute favorite. Thank you. That was such a great question.
I actually missed meeting the Mr. Basketball, Benny. Like he was at PPW with his friend, the basketball king, Indy basketball.
Yes,
king.
Marbury. Yep.
Yeah, I missed him. I wasn't there when. You know what's funny? You're gonna laugh. Every time I see him and I don't see you in a picture, I'm like, is Jemma secretly the basketball? I'm like, I don't see you. Then I see the energy.
Mm-hmm.
After having to wear that costume, how hot it is in those gyms.
Ooh, yeah. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I mean, I can't even.
The state athletic league, he wants to take him out at the next PPW show. He wants to attack him. So
that's not very fond of them. That's not very fun of them.
He wants to beat him up. I'm like, he's a smiling basketball. Let the man live his life.
Benny's been beat up enough. Leave the poor basketball alone. My goodness.
Say you need to make a support Benny t-shirt that has like him band-aids on his head, little black eye, the arm in a sling.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. You know what? I will talk to Marbury about that, and we can the next time I see him, which probably will be this coming weekend, I believe.
You need to bump elbows with him and tell him, hey, you need to go on Dudes at Ringside. Joe was waiting for your answer.
Yes, yep. I'll try to
him and Benny.
Push it to him. Whoa.
Even I have a hint. See, Benny, the names are orange today. So you want to come hang out with us? See, they're orange. They look like basketballs.
They do, yeah.
They're not round. They're flat basketballs. Oh no. Benny would be sad. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, like, do you play any of the WWE games, Jemma?
I do. I play WWE Battleground on my Switch, and that is so fun because when I first got it, I had cousins who brought their friends from the city down south with them, and I was at my grandmother's house, and they're like, "Oh my God, you have WWE Battleground!" I said, "Yeah, I do." and they're like, "Oh, let's play. I bet I can beat you." Joe, I won 5 times.
Oh my God, Jemma! It's all I can think is the meme from The Simpsons and the kid. He's already dead yet. Like after the 4th time, that little kid's just like, like
Yeah.
we're just chuckling, walking away. Like I ain't got time for this, kid.
Exactly. And then I also have the AEW game as well. And honestly, what pushed me to buy that was the Matt Hardy skins. And also because I saw it was available for Switch, I'm like, oh my God, I need this so bad. And then finally, once it was on sale at Walmart, I think I got it. Yes, and I think it was maybe $30 because it was on like rollback. So easy to get though, and that was also when I got the Battlegrounds. So I'm like, oh well, I bet you can't beat us in that game. 2 times, and they're like, okay, we're done. We're done. Let's just play Mario Kart.
How many times did you beat them in that?
6.
Jemma, that again, the meme, the kid. He's already dead. He's already dead.
I am a video gamer. I do game a lot actually. For Christmas, I just got the new Hogwarts Legacy, and I practically begged my parents for it, and they're like, why don't you just ask Santa for it? I'm like, okay. So
Is Santa looking for a manager? Writing a letter, dear Santa.
Maybe. I mean, hey, if Mrs. Claus wants some help making cookies, I can absolutely help her. I'm an amazing baker.
You're like Santa, I look good in red. Definitely look good in red.
I do, yeah. Speaking of red, and if we add, hello. The worst thing about doing school and wrestling at the same time is time management. I know I explained that a little bit, that I have longer periods in a school day so I can get it done faster and easier, but definitely trying to manage my time of how much time I spend training in the gym, or if I don't have time to go to the gym and I need to use my high school's weight room, or basically just when I have like big essays to do or whatever. But the biggest thing is time management, and I promise I am working on that, so I can thoroughly just focus on my job.
And then my question's on the end. What's my favorite show? Do you mean like of all time? Like when I was baby panther, little teen panther going to shows? Or do you mean like adult male Joe going to indie shows? If you mean all around, I'm gonna have to say April 22nd, 1991. That was the very first time Joe Panther III, aka Little Joe Tiguez, ever attended a wrestling show. I actually got a chance to watch it. I say the date and it gives me the chills because that was the very first day that I ever set foot in Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
Ever sat and paid attention as a little hyperactive little boy, paying attention to anything. And I got a chance to watch my very first WWF match in Madison Square Garden. And I remember the main event, and I will have to write it down so when I'm old. It was Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter.
Yes.
The first match of the night, and it's actually on Old School. If you want to watch the match, you have to keep scrolling to get to it. The opening contest was for now, it would be a banger if they even put it on regular TV. So I would love if they showed it on TV, that whole show. What's on Peacock? So the first match was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Haku.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was a banger. Oh, they were like, cuckoo. And they posed in, like, standing there with each other. Boo, boo, go, sleeper hold, flip, flip, flip. I'm like, oh, my. As a kid, I'm like, oh. It was a good show. Like, the Big Boss Man faced the Mountie, and Who else? The Rockers. The Rockers teamed with Virgil to face the Orient Express.
Yep.
Good old Virgil. R.I.P. Virgil. That's so sad.
R.I.P.
I never
Have
met
I
him,
ever
but I heard
told
he.
you?
Did you ever
I've
meet
met him
Virgil?
actually. I did.
Was he
Yes,
nice?
2 times. Yes. He was a bit of a diva, but
Oh gosh.
I'll explain that a little more. But basically, I was at my first ever Hall of Fame show, in Waterville here, and he was screaming at the staff, "Where is my table? I need this table. I need to sit down. I gotta sell my merch and everything." And it was so funny because the staff was me and my family. We were helping run the Hall of Fame as well as I was working. But like he was definitely a little cranky that night. But once you got to really know the guy, he was actually a very, very sweet guy.
Seemed like a very nice
And
person, but yeah. We
yeah,
lost him too soon. I remember when he passed away,
I
I was like,
know.
no, not Virgil. Not Burge, as I
Exactly.
would say. I never met him, but I would say Burge. I honestly watched that. My other favorite memory as a kid was watching SummerSlam that 91 that was in the Garden live.
Yeah.
My very first my very first indie experience was when I lived on Long Island. I went to the New York Wrestling Connection for my very first show. And ever since, that made me so addicted to this business.
Yes.
And then the podcast started in 2021, even though we missed the boat. But after interviewing our first guest, Foxy, which is from Jersey, sweet, sweet lady.
Love Foxy. Oh my god.
You know Foxy too? Yay.
I do. I love Foxy. Yeah.
Now you can text her. I was back on Dudes again. I guess you have to take a trip and be on Dudes again.
Yep.
She was my very first pro wrestler we ever had on the show.
Really?
Yes.
That's
very first interview ever.
I'll talk to her. I'll make sure maybe she can get back on.
Yeah, because this is the 4-year anniversary. So like, she was the first ever American manager that ever came on the podcast. And also sprinkle this a little bit. If it wasn't for you, Joe would never be doing his nerd culture show, Ghost Head Nerd Talk. Her and Damien used to do a show called Nerd Herders back in the day. Jingle jingle. And they used to do a thing like on radio TV. So it's like you'd be hearing their voices, but you wouldn't see them. And
Right.
I would call in on my cell phone and ask my question. And they were like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I would listen and watch. And I started doing Ghost Head Talk as just a thing about Ghostbusters. I was bored.
Yeah.
And it just started hanging in there, So before we go, Jemma, if there's any shows you want to promote, that if anybody wants to buy a ticket or attend anything you're doing.
Before we go, actually, I have a huge weekend coming up.
One more question.
I'm just gonna finish this thought first.
Okay, sorry, Joe.
You good? But my main guy, the beast of the Northeast, the hardcore nightmare, Bull Dread, is getting inducted into the PAPW Hall of Fame after being in this business for 25 years and just turning 50 years old. I'm so excited that I have been in these last 5 years like with him and just being his little mentee, and just he scooped me right up into his wing, and so I am so proud of him. And I will most likely be crying this weekend because of how proud I am. And I love that I just got to really grow and develop with him. So yeah, I just wanted to shout out to that, and that's what's really big coming up. All right. So a question for both of you guys: who is the most famous wrestler you have ever met?
You first, Jim.
Okay. Hmm. So when I was real little, I met AJ Lee, and I told her the story of how I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and I made her cry. She was bawling. And I don't remember it because I was little. But to this day, probably the most famous wrestler I have met is probably Booker T.
Oh wow.
Mhm.
Was he really nice?
Oh my God, sweetheart. He's such a sweetheart. Yep. He
Actually,
was
you're gonna be cool. I actually got a chance to interview his brother Stevie.
no kidding.
He was on Dudes at Ringside as well. And you want to know how? Technically, I met him via the internet, so it doesn't really count. I wasn't like next to him. But the biggest wrestler I ever met, he wasn't really a big name, but he was a big name to most people. The what's his name? The Warlord.
Mhm.
I met the Warlord at NYWC. Yeah, I'm in non-wrestler. I met John Leguizamo, which was an Ice Age. Sid. I met the leader of Twisted Sister, John Leguizamo twice. Well, 3 times. I met him at New York Comic Con, dressed as a Ghostbuster, and I was like, "Hey, John, I'm you as a Ghostbuster," and he went like this. No, I can see it, but I've never been a Ghostbuster. Never been a Ghostbuster, but I know who to call. Me as me Buster, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a me Buster. Me you Buster. I'm like, I'm him as a Buster. He kind of thought it was funny. He's like, you're me as a Ghostbuster, and I'm like, yeah, it didn't happen. And I'm like, well, maybe it happened. But yeah, go on about let's go back into your if fans want to call to your show and pick up tickets. What's going on?
So, with the Dynasty, in my link in my Instagram, which is ringside _ Jemma, correct? I think. But basically I will post in my bio the purplepass.com to get Dynasty tickets for our upcoming February 22nd show, which would be be really, really cool if you were there, Joe. Just saying.
I wish I gotta see was it in Jersey or is it New York?
New York. It's in Albany.
Albany, okay. I'll talk to my buddy Beans. He's traveling. He's going to my best buddy, Balor Club guy. He does a lot of if you watch a lot of Raw and SmackDown or pay-per-views, he's the little skinny guy with the glasses they always show.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw him, if you saw his picture at the end of the show, I'll have to pop up a picture of Balor. You go, AKA, if you ever met him, you'd go, you're really tall. They used to call him E.T. because he's tall and skinny, and he's sweet too. He has that southern accent. He's like a southern gentleman.
Yeah.
Like, how you doing? My name is I'm Balor Club guy, and I'm like, he's Jay Beans. Nah, man, I'm Balor. I'm Balor. He talks to Finn Balor all the time apparently.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So yeah, definitely. I'll definitely have to talk to Papa Panther or Balor and see if I can make it. If I can't, just send me clips. I will post them on the Dudes page. So my fans have something to watch since now I'm no longer on TikTok. I just felt super odd about it getting banned. And then it came back today. And I just was just like, the Prince meme.
Yep.
And I just said, gotta go. Sorry, everybody. Didn't even say goodbye. I just deleted the app.
Yeah. Yep.
I can't. I don't trust it. And after why it came back, nope. Not doing it. We're wrestling. I'm not gonna even go that route. But is there any other shows or anything else you're doing besides the show with
Yes. So Dread's induction and also the Hall of Fame is an actual show. So that is happening this Saturday, which I will be at, and I'm very excited for it because I'll be returning home again. And then that's pretty much it so far. If anything pops up, just always check my Instagram and my Facebook as well. And Yeah, I will always be posting like when I have shows coming up and whatnot. But Joe, I do have one more thing to say. If you do happen to be at that show, and if Conway it happens to be at that show, I will pull him aside and make him apologize to you, or heel Jemma might come out a little bit.
I am a Jet fan. He kind of went Eagles on me a little bit. But I'm not a wrestler. I'm not trained to take a bump. If you guys want to throw Joe Panther around, have me tell the promoter to give me a little something to get in the ring before everybody else. Throw me around, pop me a little money or some. Give me a T-shirt. You just said, "Here, I'm gonna launch you." I'm 5'1". I'm about 140 pounds. You threw me, and my shoes skidded like a little kid skidding on ice. I was like,
not cool, Conway. Not cool.
If he knew, I showed his girlfriend. I showed the knee, and she was like, "Oh my god!" The knee was still purple. Daughter was like, daughter's so cute. His daughter's adorable. Well, Jemma, I want to thank you again for coming back on Dudes at Ringside, helping me celebrate the 4-year anniversary of this illustrious, internationally known global satellite dish. Really wish I could be on local public access TV one with this thing. I was interviewed by the local channel, but don't know what that means, but I can mean anything. But before we go, if we had any inspiring fans that are in the chat or watching this or listening to this on Spotify and they wanted to get into the wrestling business like you did, Jemma, what kind of advice would you have for them?
Find the right people. Connections are the biggest thing in the world, especially in the entertainment industry. I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't be here without the first female referee, Rita Marie Chatterton, who is my coach. But basically, just find the right connections, find the right school, just find your path and really make sure that this is what you want to do. Once you find that, you're good to go. But yeah, the biggest thing, find connections. That is the biggest thing.
Awesome. Jemma, thank you so much for coming back on Dudes at Ringside. I am Joe Panther III.
I am Ringside Jemma.
And we will catch you in the next one.